We're 2 minutes in. We've talked too much Old Foe.
Yep.
Not enough barrel, not enough MGP. Charlie's off.
Yep. Game over. He doesn't want to be part of this. Suddenly realized the 1910 smelt pretty good, and he's got to go recheck all his philosophies in life.
I know, right? He's like, oh my gosh, I might be agreeing with Brian on this one. What will I do? All right, welcome to another episode of Power of Bourbon. We are here tonight to, I'm not sure if it's to celebrate things that I like or just torture me with things I like. We'll kind of see how this episode goes, but we are looking at tasting Old Forester, which I'm the Old Forester fanboy, so I can introduce this one. We're going to go with 1910, 1920, and then a mixture of the two, which is referred to as a 1915. So about a half and half of each, and just kind of compare them side by side, pull out the different tasting notes and see how they compare. Historically, I've always liked 1910 more than 1920. Several people in the comments have backed me on this in previous episodes, saying they do prefer 1910 over 1920. They're both, I mean, let's be clear, we're only talking about good things. We're going to start with 1910. One of the things I've always enjoyed about 1910 is you get kind of that almost like a sweet smoke or sweet char on that nose, with a little bit of like hint of fruit as well.
Yeah, a dark red fruit, like maybe.
I was going to say apples maybe, but.
I mean, I don't know dark red fruit generally. I think cherry or something along that line, but hey, apple sounds great.
Hey, I'm just throwing out things that I feel like, it's smelling like the moment. And I feel apples.
So I'm disagreeing with you guys on definitely not smoke. I could maybe see a little oak, maybe a little bit of the barrel char. I get a sweet note in the back. It's very subtle. A little bit of vanilla comes through. I mean, it's got the characteristic Old Foe nose too. A lot of people call that a banana.
It's definitely a very complex nose. Like there's some notes or noses you get that there's, one or two notes, but there's a lot in this, it's nice.
At 93 proof. So
yes.
Lower proof, this is a robust nose.
Yeah, I mean, overall, it's for a 93 proofer, something I can drink every day. Like, yeah, it's a very, very good bottle. And if you enjoy the sweet notes, the caramel, a little smoke, and then barrel char with some spice, this is your go-to. Like,
all good things.
Yeah,
I mean,
to be fair, until I had Widow Jane, I would say this was one of my top 90 proofers, and now not so much.
You just have to get those shots in where you can. You're just like, good, but
we are being truthful for our audience.
The audience wants to know.
I 100% believe that you are intentional about providing accurate information to our audience and not trying to take shots at me, Old Foe, or 1910 in the process.
I mean, to keep this in the Old Foe, so would you take 1910 or the single barrels now that are coming in at 100 proof?
Oh, I know what I would do. We'll see what Brian says. The man that put a barrel strength Old Foe back.
It's called budget. No, you guys don't know what a budget is, but I do.
Comments below. Budget, no budget. Would you have put the barrel strength Old Foe back? Let us know.
That's probably a good poll. That's probably a good poll right there. I mean, caveats are like, you want to stay in good standing with your wife, with your finances. It's early. It was early in the hunting weekend. Any other things I can throw in there to help my case? I'm not sure.
I think Old Foe barrel strength is worth a trip to the couch personally, but that's just me.
Exactly. So, I mean, I don't know. I'd probably go single barrel just because it's a single barrel. And if I don't like it, boom, 1910 right there on the shelf. Good to go.
All right, so the 1920 has, I feel like, more on the nose, and I get definitely like, you get the banana note for Old Foe, but I would say there's a cherry note there. that I get, and some of the ethanol starts to come through.
Yeah, very traditional Old Faux banana forward. I feel like it comes on a lot stronger out of the gate. I mean, you get it's kind of not overwhelming, but just boom, you 100% get that banana note.
Yeah, I mean, some of that ethanol comes through, some of the Old Forester barrel, the banana. A little bit of subtle sweetness, but tonight I almost want to give the nod to 1910 on the nose.
Yeah, you do. Come my way, Charlie. Come my way.
Oh, it's just the nose. Nose is one of three components. Right.
I would probably give the pull to the nose for the 1910 tonight. I feel like it's more complex. There was more to the nose. The 1920s got one or two notes, whereas the 1910 had a lot more going on, at least that I got. And maybe that's the ethanol coming in a little bit strong and kind of hiding those other flavors. But then come to the palate, hello, we got flavor.
Yeah.
I mean, you can definitely taste the proof difference. Warms up a little bit. You kind of get what I would describe, like I typically don't use this phrase a lot, but almost like a nice ethanol through. Like it's not overpowering. It's enjoyable, start to finish, well balanced in that regard.
Yeah, I think it contributes well to the overall palate and finish. But the flavor notes in the palate are where they were lacking in the 1910 are really present here. So it's the caramel, it's a nuttiness, toasted note as well as it moves into the finish. So it's this. TJ's wife would probably call it something like a toasted marshmallow.
Yeah.
Caramel
With a
drizzle.
Upside down pineapple cake with a drizzle of walnut, cherry, and honey, or something crazy like that.
And apricot spice.
Yeah, apricot spice. I think I finally just figured it out. So 1910 is your spring and summer Old Faux. 1920 is your fall winter. Like, to me tonight, 1920 just screams fall campfire winter flavors. Like that's what it is. And the 1910 kind of like makes me miss spring and summer a little bit. Like you could have those during then. So I think we can, at least for me, I can finally agree they're both great. You just got to pick the right season to drink them is what it comes down to.
I don't know I shouldn't say that because I do drink more old fashions in the summer because I put some ice cubes in there and it's a little bit more refreshing. But otherwise, like I'm not a very seasonal whiskey drinker. It's like I enjoy what I drink and it doesn't really change throughout the seasons. But yeah, I see what you're saying. Just definitely like sitting by a fire on a chilly fall evening. This would be nice.
Yeah. I mean, for Charlie, it needs to be 12 years old and 110 proof or higher all year round. Like the man has standards.
Barrel MGP or Dickel. And
barrel MGP or Dickel. There you go.
I'm just glad you added all the caveats, but I could still edit it out to where Brian literally just says, and Chuck prefers a 12-year-old Dickel. And now we got 1915. So for those of you that don't know, 1915 is a 1-to-1 blend of 20 and 10, thus the 15. And it's got such a cult following that people make their own fake labels, re-pour it into these bottles, and then put the new label, the new tax strip, all of that stuff. Old Faux sent a cease and desist to the people that were doing the original 1915 labels because they got so upset that it was gaining that much of a popularity that people were going out and making these things.
Doesn't that mean though that they have to buy 1910 and 1920 to make the 15? So it's not like taking away from Old Faux sales.
Or if they were smart, they would have like just instead of a cease and desist, just like marketed that out, and then boom, the people have to buy the 1910, the 1920, and boom, they get a kickback for every label that's printed.
Seems like an opportunity at the gift shop, like a package, 1910 in a box, 1910, 1920 with the new label. Like, come on. More, I mean, it opened up more sweet notes for me. You get a lot of the traditional like vanilla and caramel just hits you right away. Yeah,
I feel like the barrel char goes away and it gives way to a little bit more fruit and a little bit more ethanol. Like that ethanol comes through.
I get less, maybe more light fruit. I get less of that cherry plum that TJ was kind of noting on the 1910.
Then take a sip of it. It all comes back.
That is very pleasant.
Cherry and plum and caramel, vanilla. I would say that's, for me, the best palate of the night. Not finish. Like, I think it takes a step back on the finish.
Agreed. Okay, I'm with you.
I wish I could taste the palate.
Why can't you taste the palate, Brian?
COVID. Ting.
It's just like DJ just ragging up the COVID ticker.
The COVID tracker.
Multiple people commented they really enjoyed that.
I saw
Bring
that.
it back.
Yeah, bringing it back.
Round 2.
COVID. Take a shot for each one.
It's like the Jim Carrey movie was in the airport. You can't say bomb in an airport. Bomb, 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 bomb.
So challenge, a shot of Henderson every time I say COVID.
2 out of 3 dentists do not recommend it.
but I found the like a handle of it actually.
2 out of 3 power of bourbon experts don't recommend it.
I actually found a handle of Henderson at a place, like a big bottle.
I mean, I can't believe that was still on the shelf. I mean, like,
I know.
Yeah, who would have thought?
When it was only like
special.
18. It was only like 18. And so it's like, you're getting an even better deal.
Where the 1920 really gives you that warming sensation immediately, even in the palate. I still get some of the flavors in the palate, but then it just like never lets up. This one, you have some of that subtlety of the 1910 in the palate, and it's not as much of the ethanol doesn't come through as much on the palate, and then it kind of comes back a little bit later in the finish, which I think is what you were saying, TJ. But
Yeah.
But it doesn't linger as long, I don't think, as the 1920, which makes a little sense on the proof.
Overall, what do we think? What is everybody's favorite? Are we going to go the 1910, the 1920, or the blend that everybody can do? At least for me, 1920. Yep. It might be because it's coming to fall time that I really enjoy it. But I will say I like the 1920 and the 1910 better than 1915. There's just some note that I get towards the end that doesn't make it as pleasant. I think they're both great, and I'm just going to drink them the way they are, the way Olfo intended.
I'm going to go 1920 still. Kind of similar comp. Oh, shock. Blah, blah, blah. I like how you can be objectionable, but I somehow can't be.
Yes, correct.
My palate's consistent. Yes. I even admitted the nose on the 1910 tonight was a little better, which I normally heavily weight a nose. So
Yeah.
But that palate and finish to me was a little lacking. So I like the 1920 even over the 1915. I did like how it opened up some of the sweet notes on the nose in the 1915. But I'm kind of with you, TJ. Like, I would put actually the 1915 second, just because of the strength of the palate and the finish compared to the 1910. The 1910 finish was just a little lacking to me. But I mean, all 3 products are solid. But for me, the 1920 would be the consistent go-to on the shelf.
To round us out, the people's champ himself, because the people spoke and they like 1910 better, and Chuck and I were wrong.
It was like by a slight margin.
So at the end of the day, I actually really like what TJ said earlier. This hurts inside. I do think there is an element to having a seasonal preference between 1910 and 1920. I mean, it's like 51, 49%, probably 1910, but man, that 1920 is good too. So depending on what you're in the mood for, I think is ultimately what it comes down to. If you're in the mood for something that's nose forward, a little bit lower proof, man, 1910. If you're looking for something warmer, you need that Kentucky hug, you're lonely at night, boom, go 1920. You know, you're lonely.
Shot across the bow. Thanks, man.
Yep.
So, but
I'll continue to drink my 1920. Thank you.
Exactly. But I would agree with TJ. I feel like the 1915 is a step back. It's interesting. It's a nice little parlor trick, type of thing. It is enjoyable. It's a great thing to do with friends to kind of see what they like.
So there you go. At the end of the day, you probably just need to pick up a bottle of 1910 and 1920. You won't be disappointed. They really should be on everyone's bar. I can't think of better Olfo everyday products. And really, I mean, they're heavy hitters with like limited releases and things like that. Like everybody goes after an M10. I take the 1910 over the M10 every day. So once again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
They eat and drink 1920.
Power Bourbon, 1910.